Welcome to Hello Chaos, a weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic lives of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That's Orange Whip, WIP for Work in Progress. Orange Whip is a national multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities through hyper-local online platforms designed to inform, inspire, and create connections to help founders along their journey. Orange Whip is part storyteller, part how-to guide, and navigator. We are the megaphone for founders telling real, raw, and honest stories, and why our mantra is where aha meets oh shit. My name is Jennifer Sutton. My friends and family call me JJ. I am the founder of Orange Whip and your podcast host today. We record live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and publish on all podcast platforms the following Sunday. This episode is sponsored by Worksby, the gold standard in virtual administrative solutions. Their energetic leadership team is committed to solutions that are agile, collaborative, and accessible so you can find the strategic answers you've been seeking. They are narrow and deep in the administrative professional space and help craft the next generation of servant leaders and support executives. They help founders do what they love and take the tasks that they hate off their plate. And it's Worksby, WORXBEE. On our podcast today, we welcome Nathan Brown. He is the founder of Kiona Technologies and co-founder of the Upstate, South Carolina LGBT Chamber. Welcome, Nathan, to our 55th podcast episode.
Hey, thank you, JJ. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Exciting. Yeah.
So, Nathan, you've been a founder multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me about just to set us all, set the story straight. What is your entrepreneurial journey? Where did it start?
Oh my God. Yeah. I was thinking about this today and I was like, if I'm really honest, I think that my entrepreneurial journey started because I'm a terrible employee. I'm just so bad. I was so bad. I remember my early 20s, I was working for a major corporation and they were like, we need to help you with efficiency for these things. And I was like, cool, I can do that. And so I was a little renegade. I found a bunch of orphaned computers and put them in my cube and then created claims processing logic. And I was not a claims processor, but I was processing claims so quickly for this client that I saved them $1 million in 3 weeks. But then I also shut down the mainframe because it was queuing up things too fast. I remember, my boss was so mad.
You're like, I was being innovative.
I was like, I got this great idea. I knew what to do. Yeah, I totally was secretly doing it. My boss found out that I shut down the mainframe and he dropped.
You're like, oops.
I know. He was so upset. He drop kicked his mug and it bounced off his office wall and all in the cubicle row. And I was like, yeah, I think I probably went too far.
So you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll just start this business. I'll do that.
Yeah. I think I just always have struggled to follow people if I didn't kind of comprehend the value proposition or the logic of their decisions. I really struggled to follow and found that I was better off when I could go test some ideas on my own, make my own mistakes.
Yeah.
But also sort of lead toward faster successes.
Yeah. Was Kiona your first company that you founded?
I think Kiona might be my 4th company.
Whoa. So, what was the first one?
Oh my God. The first one's really embarrassing. It's so bad. Mostly from a marketing standpoint. I was giving homage to a cousin who loved this idea, but I created a management consulting company called ND Firelight.
INDIE? ND?
Yeah, ND Firelight. It's so embarrassing. It was so sultry. But yeah. That was my first company.
Did they just shut it down, or did you sell it, or you were just like, well, that was fun. Now off to the next.
Yeah, I ended up getting acquired by another company.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, which was the second one. I helped them get up and running, so I think I was like the third employee. So kind of pivoted over to that one.
Okay.
So Kiona is like, yeah, it's the fourth iteration, and I had gotten to a point where I think I had some better concepts of how to execute. And one thing that like they will probably talk about later, but one thing I've realized is that it's cool to embrace failure.
Yeah.
And I certainly have failed a lot. And I
You
think
fail up is what I call it.
Yeah, fail up. I love that.
I just
The
fail
optimistic spin. Yeah. Yeah, no, but I think I finally kind of figured out like how I wanted to show up in the professional world, which is when I started Kiona.
Well, so why is Kiona different? How are you showing up there and being a founder there versus where you came?
Yeah, so I think in the end, a lot of it comes down to the way that I set up my team to build trust.
Okay.
So it may sound like kind of fundamental, but I like in this iteration from the very jump, I learned that if I treat everyone sort of with respect throughout all the processes, and that includes paying like living wages and putting all the benefits in contracts, right?
Okay.
If I show up in a way that is like really sort of like honest and respectful, and build sort of diversity into like my framework from the jump, it builds an entirely different like framework and culture. So
Expand on that, Nathan. Because a lot of founders. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I got you. Sorry, I had to switch headphones over here. Yeah, but you were saying, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's like I'm just so interested in how you shifted and what was that pivot of you saying putting the benefits and everything in the package, the offer, the employee contract. How did that help build more trust or build a stronger culture, a more honest culture? Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So the part that's missing in the story is that the company that I had left to help found took off and did really well, but that person didn't put things in writing for me. So I spent 6 years of my life building this wealth, and ended up walking away with virtually nothing. So I was like, okay, I made a big mistake just trusting friends and whatnot. And looking back, there were lots of aspects of that culture that were sort of toxic. Some things were fun and great and exciting and all that. But when I kind of dug a little bit deeper, there weren't those signals from the founder that this is going to truly be a ride where we all share in the benefits.
Okay. So that's what you've done differently.
Exactly.
Okay.
That way it's like it's clear from the beginning. When you join the team, you know exactly what the story is. You know how we're working together, and what the reward's going to be when we do well. I think being honest about it up front, and being brave enough to put those promises in writing shows good faith as an employer.
Yeah.
And it helps too. Like when times are tough, employees know that you are doing the best to protect the team as a whole.
Right.
And so it creates like a opportunity for grace on that
Right.
side too.
Like
So,
the shared,
mhm,
because then it becomes as a founder, you're taking all the risk
mhm,
ultimately.
right.
But I guess if you're being more transparent in that of, like you said, give more grace when you
Mhm,
need it.
mhm.
Um, what has been the most rewarding aspect of either starting Kiona compared to the previous ones, or just across your whole journey? What's been the most rewarding aspect?
Mm. Oh man, that's a great question. Um, so the part of me that likes to solve problems is really proud of the value that we've created. So for the wind industry, we've generated over $1 billion of efficiencies and savings, and with a tiny little team. And that feels good because that's helping create a greener planet.
Yeah.
Um, when I like reflect back on all the years, though, the part that I'm really proud of is the human aspect.
Hmm.
It has in some ways nothing to do with the actual product. It's more to do with the fact that we've got a number of families who thrive off of the business that we have generated, and a culture where we can sort of like compassionately support each other
Right.
and be understanding. We've got people, people have had health issues and babies and all the things that come up, and we've all been able to sort of like flex and be there for each other.
Yeah.
And to see the beauty and the value of that culture really honestly is like where what I'm most proud of, even beyond like we do really kick-ass work, which
Yeah.
I love, but in the end it's the people
It's about the
that really
people.
make me proud. Yeah.
How big is your team?
Now we've shrunk a little bit. Last couple of years have been kind of hard,
Yeah.
but we're now at 7 employees.
Wow. And
So
are they
yeah.
all in the same area, or are you everywhere? Is there a
No.
little bit of everywhere?
Yeah, a little bit of everywhere. So we operate here out of South Carolina, but we have teammates in Florida as well. And then a subsidiary in Canada, primarily with people in Toronto.
Okay.
And then teammates in Mexico as well. And periodically, we've got supplemental support that we'll have through like Sweden or
Yeah.
Brazil. So,
Fantastic.
yep.
So,
Yeah.
so so the transparency and putting everything kind of like you said, that documentation of it's up front, people know
Mhm.
that they're coming in, you're being honest and transparent and all that. How do you maintain that culture? How,
Mhm.
is there some secret that you do, or is there some ritual or tradition that
Mhm.
you hold dear to
Yeah.
maintain that culture? What is that?
Yeah. So I think all of these things exist through reinforcement, right? So one is in order for a culture to change or to persist, it has to come from the top down,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I see
Yep.
a lot of
Absolutely.
corporations trying to get like all the worker bees
But
to like execute some sort of culture change, and the thing is like it has to come from the top
that's
down.
right.
So I have to demonstrate the way that I want my team to show up.
Yep.
So we've got daily stand-ups with the entire team,
Okay.
and which we can do since we're
Yeah.
small. And through those conversations, we've got like kind of a pattern that we run through in terms of our reports.
Okay.
Um, and we also have 16 principles that I have like outlined through the years that are guiding principles. And that's
Hmm.
something that we go through during onboarding, and we go through during every 6 months, we've got performance reviews.
Okay.
So we run through those concepts there as well. And then also through mentoring, like whenever I see something pop up, like sometimes it might be like an ego that's not going to serve everyone. Like
Right.
I'll pull them aside, we'll have a conversation, and we'll make sure that we're kind of aligned. Yeah. So,
And so as you've now done Kiona, and then what prompted you to then co-found and start the Upstate LGBT Chamber?
oh wow. Yeah. So I moved down here from DC,
Okay.
where is like, it's a really queer city.
Yeah.
Before that, I was in Chicago and LA.
Oh,
And,
yeah. So bigger urban markets and yep.
yeah. And you can find every kind of person, right?
And then Greenville, you're like,
I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Where's the neighborhood? I don't know. Where am I supposed to
So
go?
yeah, how was that a big culture shock for you? I've heard that from other queer friends of mine. They're like, it is coming in from other markets. It's from other cities. It's a big shift. It's a culture shock.
Yeah, I would say it's because I grew up in the South. I grew up in Arkansas. It's less of a shock and more of a, I guess, just a realization that we had work to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it. I've seen the community grow and change and evolve, and I'm proud that Greenville is embracing and doing those things. So when did you found found Upstate LGBTQ Chamber? When was that?
So I guess it's been it was a bit of a journey getting it off the ground because we
Talk
started
about that.
it
Yeah.
right. Yeah, we started it in the middle of COVID, and yeah.
Was it because you guys looked around and said there isn't anybody that's helping queer businesses, the community, or like what was that? What was the spark?
Yeah, so I was as far as I know, I was the first certified LGBT business in the state of South Carolina.
Whoa. Okay.
And so to get certified, you have to go through an affiliate chamber.
Okay.
So I had looked around, and the closest one was Charlotte. So I went through the Charlotte chamber, and through the process realized that in South Carolina, as a state that has not historically been super favorable to marginalized people, the one thing that I do know is that the state and our leaders speak the language of commerce. And
yes,
and to truly empower people, we can empower them professionally. And so knowing that there was no chamber locally to support us, and knowing also that this is a language that state leaders speak, it seemed like an intuitive way for us to strengthen this community.
Okay.
So that we can thrive professionally and support ourselves and show up in a way that is like healthy.
Yeah.
Instead of necessarily, and that way we're kind of focusing on root cause issues for success,
right?
Rather than always trying to be reactive to like the negative things that come to us.
So to get started, you had to go through a why wouldn't just the regional local chamber be able to certify or take that on as part of their service offering?
Like So the certifying body is the NGLCC, which is the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have official affiliates, and kind of makes sense that you want your affiliates to be vetted.
Yeah.
Right? So, a local chamber couldn't really certify us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it needed to be specialized in that, and like you said, verified. So you went through the one in Charlotte, and then you were like, I bet there's other businesses, founders like me. Is that kind of how you went about it? And
so I had some like lovely partners here. Think Up Consulting is a group that's been around for ages. Ron and Michael over there, just lovely humans. They, along with employee at their time, Sam Wallace, really encouraged me to kick this off.
Oh, okay.
And it was truly a group effort.
Because you guys have a large board, and
we've got God, we just added a couple more, but so I think we're about 13 at the moment for our board of directors. Then we also have an advisory board as well. But we have a number of people who came together with the community to figure out how to execute this chamber. And chambers of commerce are weird things. It's not like super intuitive how to make it work.
Right. Because there's products and programs and services, but it's a membership driven model.
Right.
which is
Right.
different, I'm assuming, than the business model of your own business.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's
Completely.
nonprofit. Yeah, now looking into it, I was
Yeah.
like maybe the worst person to lead this thing now because I didn't know the first thing about nonprofits. But
Well, it's also with nonprofits, isn't there a difference of like there's 501c3, but then
yeah,
it's like 501c6
six, right.
to be an advocate, right? Isn't there
Yeah,
some
so
like
we're
differentiator?
definitely, yeah. One's tax deductible, one's not. One like political affiliations differ, and yeah, it's a big thing. So yeah, we're both a C6 and a C3.
Okay, so
So
you had to wade through all of that.
oh my God, yeah. We had some really gracious lawyers who helped
Oh.
us navigate the process.
How
Um,
long was it to like get the nonprofit status? Because I've heard sometimes in South Carolina there's a waiting list for
mhm.
6 months to a year. Did you guys? But there's fast track, ways. Did you guys have an expedited, or did you guys have to wait?
We had an expedited
Yeah.
application. It still took several months, but in all honesty, we were slower than the state. We were still trying to get our shit figured out by the time the state issued their
You're
approvals.
like, oh, we're
Yeah,
we're now an entity.
yeah, we're official. We got to
We're
do something.
official. So what's been the most like aha moments or like the oh shit moments during that process? Uh,
Mm. I've learned some of the like aha moments are less sexy than others.
yeah.
One of the ones that's not like particularly sexy, but I think it's like critical, is simply that I was viewing every leader on the team from my own lens.
Hmm.
And like, I'm the kind of person that like, I'll jump into a problem and just, I'll start pulling on threads and like,
Right.
I'll figure something out.
Right.
A lot of people,
Problem solver, right? You're just
yeah,
just
yeah, which is good. But I mean, you don't want a board full of people like me. It's just chaos. But so a lot of people need to know like what their lanes are.
yeah.
And I learned, it took me a while to figure it out, but like, oh, we just really need to sort of like clearly define these lanes for each
Okay.
person.
How can each of
So,
you guys show up and
mhm,
okay.
yeah. And it seems super obvious, but
Yeah.
I was just looking at everything through my own lens,
Right.
which was not, it's clearly not universal. So that and the other part was like, I don't think I realized just truly how hard it is to get people to show up financially.
Yeah.
Um, when with
As in like when you
LGBT.
guys are doing both your sponsorships and your membership drive, just getting people to go, all right, I want to support this. That
Exactly. Particularly from large corporations. We've had some like Milliken and TD Bank who have been phenomenal.
yeah.
Others have shown up in small ways, but if we make up 6% of the workforce here,
Yeah.
we
Wow.
literally are representing thousands of people's employees, at these
Yeah.
major corporations. And so I would have
And
thought
that's
that
just
like
in the upstate.
that's just an upstate. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we calculate about 85,000 queer folks in Greenville County alone.
Wow.
Right. So we're a part of the workforce, and so I would have expected corporations to want to support that workforce.
What do you think
So
was the holdup or barrier to entry? Was it just not knowledgeable or fear? Like what is it?
I think some of it was like was our approach. For instance, we were thinking that corporations would want membership, but in reality, they prefer to sponsor events,
Okay.
headline events, which kind of makes sense. It
Yeah.
just took us a minute to get there. The other aspect is that we've heard from major corporations that LGBT issues are too risky, right?
What does that mean?
It means that it's too politically charged in South Carolina, so that if they come out and say we support queer folks, then they get alienated by politicians and customers. So we saw it at like Target, for instance. Target
Right.
like put out queer stuff, and then people got upset and then started threatening employees, and they withdrew their
Right.
merchandise. So we see the battle. I think what frustrates me is that very reaction is exactly why people should be showing up.
Right. That's what I was talking to another founder, I think just last week, and we were just talking about the importance. I mean, it's Pride Month, it's June, and it is a celebration, but then there's also just real struggles. I mean, there's some, I think I looked at the latest stat. It was like over 400 anti-LGBT pieces of legislation that is going on in the United States.
Yep.
South Carolina is one of those states. There's like
14.
14. I was like 14 different
There's a
people.
4 in there.
There's a 4 legislation, so, we were saying, from a branding, marketing perspective, it's the, you don't want to get criticized as being, the rainbow washing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to also, we want to show allyship and support, because this is a critical time. Even though there's lots of things to celebrate, there is a lot of negativity, and like people's lives are being threatened, and there are companies that do need to be supportive. And I think I was telling you that talking to another founder a few weeks ago, and just talking about he's trying to build a culture of innovation and collaboration, and he's using the power of radical empathy to do that. And that kind of led us into the subject of it shouldn't, it should also embrace people that, in marginalized communities, that we need to see and walk and feel those shoes in order to create a more empathetic ecosystem, and not just a workforce, but the community that you live in.
I believe that is in some ways one of the most pressing issues for our community. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that I've noticed here is that I think a lot of people don't understand that we are human.
Yeah,
I know that sounds like maybe super basic, but there's so much fear, and there's so much kind of like we'll call it out, religious based kind of concern about our existence as humans, that I think people forget to realize that like we are just human.
Right.
We are not big scary monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find a lot of times the first battle that we have to have is to be able to show up, and for people to be able to like take a deep breath and realize that like we're not going to accost them. We are not making their kids gay. We are not trying to like conquer their world. We are trying to exist in peace.
Right.
And
to live, work, and play like everybody else. Yeah.
Exactly. What the part that I think that a lot of people don't realize, and this is where I think many voters are culpable through inaction, is that these anti-LGBT bills are deadly. Not figuratively, they are literally deadly. Places where LGBT folks cannot get support is where you find the highest rates of suicide.
Wow.
So and there is a 1-to-1 correlation to like medical support and the ability for LGBT folks to survive.
Wow. Because they just feel so isolated, and just feel like they're not a part of a community. Is that part of it?
Isolated and attacked too. Think of like our media is just like it's so noisy.
Yeah.
Right. And even if a person isn't necessarily being directly attacked in front of their door, it's like every time they turn around, there's a bill, there's a comment, there's something that is hostile to their very existence.
Right.
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 Calling them monsters and despicable people. So, like, when
Or
you've got a megaphone of that kind of like broadcasting at all times, like
right.
it's hard to show up and to feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was as we were building out for Orange Web, the online platforms, the June issue was about celebrating and really looking at being a founder through the LGBTQ lens.
Mhm.
We had a hard time kind of getting a hold of people to respond, and it came down to our approach needed to be shifted of, hey, this is a safe, we're a media outlet that is trying to tell the story in a human centric way and normalize that
Mhm.
these founders have all the same issues that every other founder probably
Yeah.
has,
Yeah.
maybe with some nuances that are no
Mhm.
different than any other marginalized community, but it's still kind of that founder to founder conversations. And
Mhm.
but that was, that was kind of an eye opener for our team. And then, we talked to, it's like why a lot of the in the low country and Midlands has a separate chamber
Mhm.
than the upstate, and there's not addresses on their directory.
Right.
And we were like, we can't. We're trying to find, who we want to work with, and they told us, they're like, it's out of fear
Right.
of putting that, because they feel like if they put themselves in a directory, that it's easier for people to come and attack them. And
Listen, we get
that was an eye opener. I mean, like, just whoa, like that
mhm.
stopped me. Um,
Yeah, listen,
uh,
we get death threats.
yeah.
Like actual death threats. It's wild. Right. Right.
At the LGBTQ chain, we're just like, because
Yeah.
people find Nathan and they're like, I'm gonna go get Nathan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, so it typically happens after there is a more public event where
Hmm.
we have a bigger sort of cross section with a larger population. But yeah, people will follow up with all kinds of threats and nasty comments and whatnot. Um, so yeah, it's not a space where it's easy to feel safe, even from a very fundamental physical safety standpoint, let
Wow.
alone psychological and everything else.
So how do you handle that? Like, what do you do mentally prepare, and how is the where do you go for support, both in the upstate but also across the state of South Carolina? Where
Mhm.
is there support? Where is there allyship? Yeah.
Well, so there are a number of ways that we have to handle it. When it comes to logistics, it means that we have to be very thoughtful about security,
Yeah.
right? To make sure
Yeah.
that we have police presence and plain clothes police officers. Our incoming president, Caroline Caldwell, has a great relationship with the police force. And Jonathan Bragg, who's the LGBT liaison over at the Greenville police force, has been very helpful on that front. So
Oh,
one,
fantastic.
logistically, we've got to be very thoughtful there.
Right.
In terms of all the like noise that's not like life threatening,
Yeah.
my instructions to the team have been to just delete it. The thing is, if we dwell on the negative, that negativity is always going to exist. If
Yeah.
we dwell on it or give power to it, it's just going to amplify the conversation.
Yeah.
We understand people hate us. We understand there's negativity. We are literally just going to delete those comments. If something is a death threat in reality, we obviously will seek protections. Yeah.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so was this surprising to you, as you started building out the organization, or really kind of putting even Kiona out there?
Mhm.
Was anything a surprise?
Honestly, like I think in the context of South Carolina history and Southern history, while there are many beautiful aspects of that history, there are aspects of marginalization if we're looking at it honestly. So that's not really surprising.
Yeah.
I think what has been surprising is actually the complete opposite. There are times when I show up and chat with folks who are stereotypically going to be folks who hate me, and they turn out to be some of the most compassionate people I meet. So I've learned that I have to check my own biases.
That's right.
So there are times when I'm judging folks by how they talk or what they're wearing, and like I've had to really put myself in check.
Yeah.
So I've been pleasantly surprised at times where I was expecting hostility to receive acceptance, and sometimes just receiving like great warmth from allies or people who I've realized we're allies.
Yeah.
That's been like super surprising. So
Yeah.
I would say I've been in some ways surprised in a positive way. Yeah.
Yeah. What if you could hit rewind, whether it's with, in your founder journey, would there be anything that you would do differently? Like if you knew what you knew today, is there something you're like, damn it, I wish I'd have known that?
Yeah. I've made like every like classic mistake. So yeah, I've got a million of them. I think like my attitude in my 20s was like I was just too obstinate, and I really wish that I had gotten my hands a little dirtier with like the nitty gritty tasks, getting into like internships and shadowing people and volunteering for work. Early career. I do a lot more of that now than I did when I was 20.
I was like, you can still do that.
I do a ton now, but I really wish that I had sort of just engaged more at that level early on, because there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And when we're solely focused on paying our bills, a lot of times it means we kind of get stuck kind of, delivering certain types of value. Right. And it can get us pigeonholed. So I just kind of wish I had explored a little bit more early career.
Yeah. I've thought about that too. Of like, man, I wish I would have done something, not that I love my journey, but yeah, it's like, oh, I wish I would have tackled like a big city.
Yeah.
Versus I've always stayed in like mid-size to small. Yeah.
I think on that front, I've been fortunate where I have taken a lot of risks. I've worked out of Bangkok, and I lived in the Balkans, and
Hold on. I lost you for a second.
You got me now?
I got you now. I hit my mic again. I'm so sorry.
It's your 55th episode.
Oh my God. I should be used to it by now, but yeah. You were talking about living in a big city. You were fortunate of living doing a big city.
Yeah. I've been fortunate to have taken some adventures, and to work overseas, and to work in big cities and whatnot.
Well, you get to work with some amazing companies too, with Kiona, and you travel, and
yeah. I'm really fortunate on that front. I think, I even sort of look at some young professionals now, and I see a lot of myself in them, that kind of desire to sort of like rocket to like leadership or whatever. Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's not about leadership. It's about learning and engagement and working together. It sounds so cliche, but like working together to create like better futures for us all, right?
Yeah.
We don't need a million leaders. We need a million people who are going to work together to get some stuff done.
Right.
And so I wish that I had more of that attitude, that collaborative kind of attitude going into things early on.
Yeah. I'm in a book club, and we were reading a book. I can't remember what the book is now that I am saying this, but one of the best things that came out was like the definition of a manager is basically someone that knows how to get a group of people together to deliver on outputs working together. Like, how do you collectively produce to get the work done?
Yeah.
And versus, that is the definition of a manager. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I need to be a leader. It's like, well, you are a leader. If you can get people to move and everybody move in the right direction, you are,
I
and
think
collaboratively.
I think we've got the narrative all wrong, and maybe in the business world, it's being revised. But look at our narratives and all of our movies and whatever. House, right? The Dr. House is like this arrogant, like I'm going to solve everything by myself kind of guy.
That's right.
That's the last person we need on this planet, right? What we really need are people who are going to work together.
Right.
And to your point, once you've got a team established, like I see a large part of the manager's role as just being a shit screen. Like you are there to create a healthy space.
That's right.
For your team to execute. Like they are the experts. You hire them for a reason. Let them do their work.
That's right.
Create a protected space for them to execute and to just kick ass. I
love it. The shit screen.
Yeah, shit screen.
That'd be a great title for somebody. You're the shit screener.
Yeah, that's probably my official title. Like, forget everything else.
That's right. So Nathan, what keeps you up at night? What just is like, what just keeps you from, either going to bed, you're like, what do you worry about?
I think that like honestly, the negative rhetoric, the noise that we have right now is pretty startling. I think we have politicians who are essentially empowering hatred and enabling rhetoric and actions that are truly hostile. I see you fiddling with your mic. You okay? You got this.
I was like, I interrupted I was like, say that again. Because it's so important of what you just said.
Yeah.
There's too much. There's too much political hatred and political rhetoric out there. It's not fun to even turn on the news anymore. And we're not focused. I feel like we're not focused on the right things.
Mm-hmm. We forget that we have been hijacked. So the way in which we can stay engaged with a social media platform is if they get us riled up one way or another.
Right.
So it means that we're constantly getting fed these things are literally, that's clickbait, right? It's to get us all excited. We literally have 20 some years of exposure to this form of media, which is like, one, it is brainwashing, and two, it's highly toxic. It's bad for our nerves. And then it creates this narrative that like everyone is an enemy.
Right.
And the reality is, like, at the core, we're all just big bags of water and bones, right?
We're human.
We're 99.9% identical from a DNA perspective. And yet we hate each other with such vitriol. So I think that dynamic, which I believe is being perpetuated through our media and our platforms, like that dynamic is what keeps me up at night. Then until we shut off this fire hose of kind of like hatred rhetoric, we're not going to be able to find that peaceful space so that we can reconcile and see the humanity of each other. So that aspect I think is kind of tragic because it's just a completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like all it's doing is lining the pocketbooks of people who are selling ads on these platforms. Which is just so dumb, right? Like there's no need for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love what you were saying. I think it's very beautiful of what keeps you up at night. And we shouldn't worry about that. And I think a lot of people do. Well, what gets you out of bed?
I think, for me, it's twofold. It goes back to the people, right? The older I get, the more I realize that for me, it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
So I am excited about being able to engage with the people in my community. Um, so I think that's delightful. And I also am a complete nerd and I love solving problems. So if I've got a good problem to solve that day, I'm ready to
You're
go.
like, you're good. You're fed.
Yeah, exactly.
Are
I'm a
there
complete dork, but
what
yeah.
are there daily routines that you have that keep you really disciplined and focused? You said that you can kind of go down and problem solve and pull threads.
Mhm.
Is but how do you keep yourself focused to be a good leader for your team?
Yeah. Well, I think mental health is critical,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's right.
That journey is going to be different for everyone,
That's right.
and I think it's our responsibility to navigate those journeys, whether it's exercise or meditation
Mm.
or diet or whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
we have to figure out what that journey is for ourselves. We have to create space for ourselves, which I have not always done well.
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't.
so
I'm working on it. I'm
I know.
I
Well, I
feel
mean, I
like
think we're
I'm a
yeah.
work in progress always. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well,
that's what it means to be human, though. Like our journey isn't over until it is, and then at that point, it's too late. So,
that's right.
we got to work the whole way through to maintain that balance.
So what do
Um,
you do? What is your thing? What's your go-to? Are you a
yeah,
a
it
walker, a runner, a rower?
it depends on the season. When the weather, I'm a fair weather runner,
Okay.
so if it's nice outside, I will go for a run.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll do yoga. I also, it may seem super dumb, but between meetings, I will literally just go like jump. I will jump and
Like a
move and
jump rope
stretch.
or just jump?
No, just jump. It's
Like
really dumb looking. I like, I'm so glad no one can see me in my office because it looks ridiculous. But I literally will just jump and get my heart rate up. It might be 2 or 3 minutes. Um,
uh,
but I do that between many of my meetings, and I think it just kind of helps me
just
get,
wakes you up.
yeah, yeah, wakes me up, gets my heart going, helps me kind of not settle into, I don't know, I'm lacking the word, but a sleepy state,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
So
yeah,
before we go, I have just a couple more questions. I just wanted to ask if
yeah.
for what would you like to tell, whether it's business or other founders, about how can they support, or what would you like to see from the aspect of the the Upstate LGBT chamber?
Hmm.
What would you like? What advice would you give others?
Yeah. It's important to show up. And showing up doesn't have to mean that you are solving all the problems.
Hmm.
It means that you are willing to sort of pull the levers that you have. If your lever is casting a vote for compassionate legislation, then cast your vote. Be aware of the fact that there are 14 anti-LGBT laws right now, and that is like incredibly hostile. This is like dark ages kind of stuff.
Right.
So
Describe one of,
yeah.
like, when you're like, they're just not human. I mean, they are so inhumane.
Mhm.
Describe one of these, like, as an
Yeah. So
example.
So some of it is, I mean, the big one that is super popular and many states are passing right now is to deny children access to healthcare as trans children.
Okay.
This can even just be like hormone blockers, which
Mm.
they're not going to change your trajectory or turn you into something else. It is literally going to buy you time so that your body doesn't turn into what doesn't feel authentic. It just hits the pause button for a while. It gives you some time to process through.
Okay.
Um,
And that those those pharmaceutical, I guess, those are endorsed. I mean, that practice is endorsed by the American Children's
oh yeah,
and all that. I mean, so
yeah,
these laws kind of go against what the medical community
oh
has.
yeah. There is no doubt from a professional medical position or from a statistical standpoint that these health procedures in this healthcare saves lives.
Mm.
It creates the healthier outcomes for children. Like there's no doubt on that front. There's
Right.
no question on the front. Um, So anyone who's arguing that this is damaging for children is not taking an honest take.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we've got a lot of bills out there that are trying to marginalize people in a number of ways. One of which is the state of South Carolina is one of 2 states that will not pass an anti-hate crimes law.
What is there? What's the reasoning or the rationale? What's the argument to do that?
I think there's concern that people will be prosecuted for anti-LGBT violence, and I think there are cross sections of our society that still believe that violence is warranted, that it's okay to be violent against this minority population because they despise us. So therefore, we shouldn't punish that violence, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's crazy.
We can't even get the state to vote on it. So I don't know what's up.
Yeah. Well, we're getting the word out.
Yeah.
Amplify. What's the other state? I'm curious.
I think it's like Mississippi, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
don't quote me on that. If Mississippi has passed it, I'm sorry for all of you.
Sorry, Mississippi.
I don't know. They're like, why is there?
We'll blame it on Louisiana. I'm just kidding.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get in trouble. We'll might edit that out. So we don't have haters come after us.
Exactly.
If you had like for founder to founder, what advice would you give to another founder looking to either to start up, or if they're struggling to go from a solopreneur to taking the risk and hiring employees? What advice would you have?
I think there are a million ways in which we can get blocked. And in order to navigate those blockers, we really need relationships. Mm-hmm. We need mentors. We need access to power, access to wisdom. Mm-hmm. So I'd say whatever is your natural sort of point of entry, whether it is like at the LGBT Chamber of Commerce or the Black Chamber of Commerce or whatever, I would say find a group of professionals that you can plug into and build honest relationships with those people. You'll find that you run into a million questions, and folks, there's nothing that any of us encounters that hasn't been encountered before.
Great. That's why I was like, find your community. You need to have a support network that you feel safe, to go and ask. I call them the stupid questions, which there are no stupid questions, but they're
just questions.
They're just questions. I think there's another podcast called "There's No Stupid Questions," which it's a marketing one. I love. But yeah, I mean, just find your community, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Is there now, Nathan? How do people get a hold of you and Kiona and the Upstate LGBT Chamber? How do people find what they need?
Yeah. So the Upstate LGBT Chamber is super easy. It's literally upstatelgbt.org. So you can Google us. We're on every social media platform. So so you can look at us there. If you happen to be a B2B kind of person and you want to talk geeky, nerdy data science stuff, you can go to kionatechnologies.com. So you can Google it as well and we'll pop up. So happy to receive any inquiries that are out there. Perfect.
Well, thanks for hanging out, Nathan. Any other lasting advice or things you want to talk about?
No, I think it's great. I really just want to thank you for looking to hear marginalized voices. I think it is a beautiful process that you're going through here. And I love that you're just embracing the chaos.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do is, Hello Chaos and Orange Whip. It's how do we talk about foundership and entrepreneurship and innovation across the wide spectrum. And it's got to be diverse and very inclusive. That's kind of our tenets. So
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for having me.
Well, I appreciate you being on. Again, this podcast will be published this coming Sunday and available on all podcast platforms, your favorites. So make sure to subscribe to Hello Chaos, like, comment, and share this great content. Help us grow a more connected and entrepreneurial community. Again, Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities through hyperlocal platforms. We are the megaphone for founders telling real, raw, and honest stories. Orange Whip is a one-stop content hub for a founder, part storyteller, part how-to guide, local navigator. We have a filterable resource directory, a curated events calendar, and a social chatter wall. We are currently in 3 markets in South Carolina, the Upstate, Midlands, and Lowcountry, with our goal to expand to be in 30 markets in 5 years. So if you happen to be listening and you want a one-stop content hub in your city, give us a call. Or if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, head over to Orange Whip. Again, that's orangewip.com, and fill out the form on the Hello Chaos page. And while you're there, please subscribe to our weekly Whip newsletter. We are ad-supported through sponsored native content. Our content is free, accessible, and inclusive. And this podcast, again, was sponsored by Worksby. Worksby is the gold standard in virtual administrative solutions. They are narrow and deep in the administrative professional space and help craft the next generation of servant leaders and support executives. For me, I'm a founder. I do have an executive administrative assistant from Worksby. She helps me manage my inbox, take off all the tasks that I hate to do. And so it keeps me focused on the business that I and the tasks that I love to do and am more valuable at doing. So check out Worksby at worxbee.com. So we are out of time, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.